What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. We are back here today to take a look at AEW All In, go over a quick recap of that, and then follow up on the Dynamite show from this past Wednesday to see how they followed up on AEW All In from this past Sunday. Almost said Saturday, because so used to Saturday pay-per-views now. But thank you guys so much for checking out the show. I truly appreciate it. If you are watching the show on YouTube, I appreciate that. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, whatever you feel so inclined to do. You can follow me on Twitter at @podcast_. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. And you can also check me out on Brass Ring Media. We are joining the show over there every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time frame. Brass Ring Media, again, search for that on YouTube. I do a live show every Saturday morning there now, which is very fun. About 2 weeks in now, and it's very fun. Like I said, it's just a good time and a good way to start the day. In my personal biased opinion, it's just a way to kind of recap the week and the week that has been. If there's a pay-per-view coming up that weekend, we'll take a look at that as well, which is what we'll be doing this weekend, taking a look at Bash in Berlin, all that good stuff. But obviously check out all the guys at work, Zach, Tyler, all that they do over there. It's a really good time. I have followed Zach and Tyler for I don't even know how long now over at PW Torch. So I was very thankful that they gave me the opportunity to join forces with them and just kind of contribute in a small way to their brand and help their channel grow. And just kind of still do my thing over here as well. But with that being said, I did release a video in regards to the Netflix news in regards to the docuseries from the Mr. McMahon series that they are releasing. It is a series now that has been confirmed. There is debate on whether it was going to be a documentary movie style or if it was going to be a multi-series or multi-episodes rather, and it is. So you can get all of that information in the previous video here on the feed. But yeah, with all the good stuff out of the way, we are looking at just AEW on today's show. A lot has happened in the past couple days with AEW, so when I take a look at that, there is something else, just kind of marketing wise that I may or may not bring up in this particular show here, or I may record a separate video later on, if I get around to it. But it was just I'm kind of debating on it because I don't want it to be too negative, but we'll see about that, because it is just kind of bugging me. So I'll think about that and we'll go from there. Excuse me. But just to kind of back up and start from the beginning, and of course regarding All In, I think as a whole the show was pretty good. I like the feeling. I like the vibes that All In brings. It definitely is their WrestleMania, like I have said. And again, no comparison to WWE, so don't get worked up about that. Just in regards to them having their signature event each year, I think it again has been solidified that All In is going to be that. So I'm very excited for that and happy that they made that decision. And it's going to be cool to see how they continue that tradition throughout the years to come, and especially how they build to next year's in Texas. That's going to be really, really interesting to see how they do that with ticket sales not being so great here in the States. But they did have over 50, I think it was like close to 55,000 in total paid attendance, they said, for Wembley Stadium. So yeah, that's obviously really good. A lot of people are giving them shit because they're down about 30 some thousand from last year, which is to be expected. I'm not going to scoff at 50,000. They are still a relatively young company. Yes, I will be giving them some critique later on, but I'm not gonna shit on them for having 50,000 plus tickets sold. So props to them for that. And I just hope that they, like I said in the past when I did a show on the All In Texas, or I think that was either here or on Brass Ring Media. I'll have to double check that. I think that was actually over on Brass Ring Media rather. But I kind of took a look at the ticket sales and just my thoughts on what we're doing over here in the States, and my hesitation, I guess, is a good way to frame it in regards to the Texas show for next year. But again, we're not going to talk about that right now. That just kind of obviously just made me think about it in looking how Wembley did. All In Texas will continue to do so. I forget that. I think they said, or I think I read they had like 40,000 seats available for that one, if I'm not mistaken. But close to it. But back to All In itself, the pay-per-view itself started off with the patriarchy, the ladder match. Of course, the patriarchy, Christian Cage, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne facing off against House of Black, which is Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews versus Bullet Club Gold, Juice Robinson, Austin Gunn, and Colton Gunn versus Pac, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta in a four-way London ladders match for the AEW trios titles. The patriarchy were your champions going in, and again, I'm not gonna go match or move my move here. But I think I was actually surprised. I got this prediction wrong. I'm start off there. I was surprised with the outcome here. I guess I should have thought about it more with Pac being involved in one of the teams here and winning his Wembley moment and all that good stuff. And of course, seeing what happened later on in the show, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Or I'm not gonna say it makes more sense, but I see more reasoning as to why they pulled the trigger here and had the patriarchy lose. But again, I'm not really hot on it. Like I'm not really like it's fine, and maybe it's a good shakeup in what I guess the trios division needs. The 6-man. Well, I don't know. It's to me, I think the trios titles have really just kind of limited the tag division as a whole, and it's just kind of, I don't want to say dampered, but kind of dampered just that aura and that part of the wrestling world for AEW than what we started off as. And again, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole here, but the tag team division when AEW started was something that AEW wanted to spotlight and focus. And the Jacksons, I think specifically, I stated that there's a good chance and a good probability that the tag team titles are going to headline a pay-per-view. And it's just where we were then and where we're at now with the whole division itself. It's just not where it's supposed to be, man. And again, sometimes certain things fall to the background, in the back burner, just depending on what's going on. But I don't know. I'm just not impressed, with what's going on. And again, it's just my opinion, like it could be worse. And again, the word that these guys put into it, fucking top notch. And I obviously couldn't do it myself. So it's nothing against the work that any of the wrestlers ever put into it, for that matter. It's just the fact that we want what's best for them as fans, and storyline wise. And to me, sometimes that's lacking, and there's just no story at all, and that's what's kind of frustrating. So, with all that being said, I am going to be hopeful, though. I am going to hold out on this one with Pat, Claudio, and Wheeler winning the trios titles here, rather. I don't know what that means for the BCC going forward. That'll be kind of interesting to see as well, especially with what we know coming out of Dynamite with Moxley kind of doing his own thing now, it seems, rather, and branching off. So we'll get into that here in a little bit as well. But yeah, it all makes sense now looking back in hindsight. And again, maybe not the best sense, but you see why they did it. Yeah, it's just still, I'm just still kind of perplexed with the fall for the tag division. But the next match, I was very surprised to see this match was coming up second. Toni Storm, your AEW Women's Champion, defending her title against Mariah May. This was one of my favorite matches of the night. Obviously, the story going into it was very good, very, very well done. Probably the best storyline AEW has done for the women's division in its history. I think that may be easy to say. But I think that still shouldn't take away from what these women put into it and the story, like I said, and just how everything wrapped up. Now, again, with the follow-up on Dynamite, we'll definitely be addressing that. But I think the right woman won here, and I think having Mariah May win in her home country too was a nice touch. But I love the reaction that the fans gave. I love that they were still on Toni Storm's side, that they still gave Toni Storm the acknowledgement and the praise and the love, and pretty much the standing ovation, if I'm not mistaken, from almost everyone in the arena, or the stadium rather. Obviously Wembley Stadium. After the match, when Toni Storm was making her way to the back, and I love the the small touch to me that really stood out. That she's just always in character, kind of like Broken Matt Hardy, especially when it first originated. Just always in character, regardless if it's during the match, while on TV, leaving the arena, in an interview, in a random YouTube interview that you may think no one will ever see. Just always playing the character, and that's obviously what Toni Storm has done here. And especially her after the match, I just really thought that when the fans were just giving her that praise, she could have very easily just like quickly broke out of there and just just thank the crowd, and not obviously not a promo or anything, but just she did it in a way where you could tell it was still her character acknowledging the emotional side of her reaction and the fan support, but she still had a way of owning it and making it feel real. So just the way and just what she does with her character, I think I'm gonna miss not having her as the champion anymore going forward. And that's why I was really hopeful, looking forward rather to Mariah May's follow up on Dynamite and what she's gonna do with as the new champion going forward. And I'm coming out of Dynamite. Again, I'm gonna be generous and wait to see with that, and we'll talk about it here again later on after finish All In. But I don't know. It's I'm hesitant. It's not that great of a sign, to say the least. But again, it's still very early, so I'm not gonna shit on it too much. But Mariah May and Toni Storm fucking killed it though. So shout out to them. They the story they told in their match layout and having. I don't think anyone would have predicted Mariah May slapping her own mother, and then Toni Storm being more of a daughter figure to Mariah May's mother. I think that's just wild. But yeah, that was just another nice touch. Next up, we had Chris Jericho, your FTW champion, facing off against Hook. This match was what it was. Again, I'm just over this angle and this not angle, but this character that Jericho is doing. I'm just not a fan of the learning tree. And again, I understand some people are. It's just not for me, man. I'm not gonna get into that right now because we have a lot to go over here. But I am happy finally that Hook has defeated Chris Jericho and has regained his FTW championship. I love the touch that they did at the end rather with Taz getting involved, and he put I think it was on Bryan Key. Let me pull that back up here. Yeah, so it was a really cool visual. Taz was sitting ringside, obviously, calling the matches, and he was getting fed up. You could hear his frustration was just building and building and building throughout the match. And props to him, because it's obviously a no rules match, essentially no DQ. So he could have easily gotten involved earlier in the match, and he didn't. He's trying to let his son do his own thing, be his own man type vibe, which I respect that. But at the end, he was just like, "Fuck it, I can't take this anymore." And he said, "If that's how it's gonna be, then then he was going to play." Hook put Jericho in the Red Room, and Bryan Keith had climbed onto the apron. Taz left the broadside. Shout out to them; they're a great band. The broadcast table pulled Bryan Keith down to the floor and put him in the Taz mission. It was a very cool visual and shot. So shout out to the production team for that. They got a wide shot of obviously facing the ring of Hook putting Jericho in the Red Room, and then on the outside they had Taz putting Bryan Keith in the Taz mission. So it was just a very cool visual. Yeah, and then of course Hook ended up winning. He went outside, took the title, hugged Taz. But again, nothing too mushy, just kind of what you would expect. Taz played his part, never took his sunglasses off, kind of still kept that badass dude type vibe to him. Sat back down. Hook walked to the back, took the little nameplate off for Jericho, threw it to the side, and called it a night. And I dig it. It was what it needed to be. It was to the point. I think it was like a little bit over 10 minutes. So I'm hopeful that with this, and it looks like again from this past Dynamite that we will be moving on from Jericho and Hook. So I'm hopeful, hopeful for that, and happy nonetheless if that's true and we finally got the conclusion there, and it's time for Hook to do other things. Let's see. Yes. So next we had the Young Bucks, of course, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, your tag team champions, facing off against FTR, Dex Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, facing off against the Acclaim, Max Caster, and Anthony Bowman, and a three-way for the AEW tag titles. So With this one, it was good. It was what you would expect. There's a spot in the match where Max Caster teamed up. I think it was with Matthew Jackson, and was helping Matthew hit various finishing moves on God. Who was it? Was it Dax? Which was it just kind of tickled me. But this match kind of was what it was. I don't think. And there's something that stood out to me again, and it's kind of just been one of those things, and I try not to pick on it too much, but it's the referee, man. And I think it's the referee because it's something that's always intrigued me and interested me as well. Again, I could never be a wrestler or anything like that, but I've always loved the business and like just how the sausage is made type side of wrestling. I gotta stop saying but I think that when it's just so glaring, it really takes away from the match. And to me, there was just a few moments where, like, I think there was one point. I think I put it down in my notes. Yeah, so the referee, I'm not gonna even say his name because it's probably not his fault. But he picked up one of the belts and he just took the longest time to get it out of the ring. And he was having a conversation. I think it was just the timekeeper or someone, or just someone from the production side. But it's like, bro, like it's just so obvious, man. Stuff like that just takes me out of it. But again, it's minor. I gotta stop saying but it's minor. But I think that for me, it's just continuing to add up, and it's just part of a big picture type deal. And did I think that the Young Bucks were going to win? Yes. And I had the prediction that it was going to be a clean slate for the Elite, which we'll get to later on. But so is it surprising to me that the Young Bucks won? No. But to me, again, what are we going to do next? And we didn't get any type of follow up for the tag division from Dynamite, which I'm not really surprised by. But it is going to be intriguing to see what follow up we do get because we don't have too much time between now and All Out. So we'll see what the Young Bucks end up doing. We could most likely just go to the Grizzled Young Vets because we did have them debut after the match was over. Of course, Zach Gibson and James Drake. So they could just go straight to that, which would make sense. Probably the most logical match there. But after that, I don't know because I definitely don't see them losing the titles to them. So we'll see. Next up, we had yes, the Casino Gauntlet. Oh my gosh, the Casino Gauntlet match for the future shot at the AEW World Championship match. So the first two entrants we had were Orange Cassidy and Kazuchika Okada, which is a pretty fun way to start the match. Then we had Nigel McGuinness, which is a very big surprise, huge pop, huge reaction. I think. He probably is even surprised by that. And it was cool for him. I think the last time they said that he wrestled, or I heard that he wrestles, was like in 2011 or some shit. So shout out to him. He was in phenomenal shape. So that was really cool. And it was really fun to see him interact with Okada too, who I definitely would not have predicted that. Next up, we had Kyle O'Reilly, which kind of surprised there, but it fit the flow of the match and the entrant participant styles, I guess you would say. The fifth entrant was also another surprise. We had Zack Sabre Jr., which makes sense as well, kind of that proximity of the world, but it's still cool to see. I think there was one point, yeah, we got Zack Sabre, of course. We had Zack Sabre and Nigel McGuinness facing off there for a little bit too, which is, again, kind of fun, two Englishmen there. Sixth entrant we had was Roderick Strong, which I was kind of bummed out and just kind of like, not bummed out, but just kind of like, whatever. But made sense as well with O'Reilly being in there. So not too surprised, but just kind of, I don't know. I take a quick swig there again. Shout out Canada Dry. If you're looking for a pod to sponsor, I will throw my hat in the, what is it they call it? The hat in the ring? There you go. Fits. The seventh entrant was Mark Briscoe, which is really cool. Again, I don't know if that's me being a hypocrite, but makes sense too. If he's a Ring of Honor champion, he's a world champion, so why not? Why not? And again, it's cool to have him spotlighted in big moments and big cards like this. So I'm happy for Mark. And I'm not gonna shit on that. 8th, we had Hangman Page, which was my odds-on favorite to win this, and yeah, we'll get to that. The 9th intro was Jeff Jarrett, which was just very surprising to me. Jeff Jarrett, man, whenever you think he's out, he pops back up. And again, not that necessarily that he was out, like we would never see him again or anything, but it's like he just always shows up, man. And then the 10th entrant was Ricochet, who made his long-awaited debut with AEW. I know it was to the surprise of everyone. But again, it was really cool for him, and I think that he's going to. It's kind of hard because in a lot of ways they have a lot of Ricochet styles, but Ricochet is a little bit above the majority, just as far as athleticism and match flow and putting together those high flying moves with this at the a sense that is kind of smooth and not choreographed, like spot, spot, spot. He makes it flow. It makes it look like one fluid motion. So yes, he is very similar to a lot of the wrestlers they have, like a Kyle Fletcher that we saw on Dynamite. But I think that yes, they could use him in a different role, and I don't see him ever being like the AEW World Champion or anything like that. But I could have seen him being maybe a upper mid Carter guy. But they're just so like loaded with their roster right now, which again is not a bad thing. There's just limited space. So with Ricochet, it's going to be another wait and see for me. I'm not really that hopeful though, which is kind of disappointing. But it's cool for him, and I'm super happy for him. And I think that it makes sense. When the news was that he was leaving WWE and his contract was up and he wasn't planning on renewing, I pretty confident I was in the camp of yeah, I'm happy for him. It makes sense. Go out there and do what you're gonna do, and yes, you most likely would go to AEW. So here he is, and we did see him debut on Dynamite as well. Officially have his singles in ring debut match on Dynamite against Kyle Fletcher, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's just kind of tough, man. I'm just pretty certain he's gonna get lost in the shuffle, and I'm just hopeful that he won't. And the 11th entrant that we have was Christian Cage, and I was very surprised by this one. And we'll talk about that in a second. On 12th out, we had Killswitch, and I'm pretty confident that they played Luchasaurus's music, if I'm not mistaken. Should have wrote that down. It's probably one of those things I thought I was going to remember, but the ending of this match just really pissed me off. I really out loud said, "Are you serious?" And not in a good way. So earlier in the in the London ladder match, there was a little bit of dissension between Christian and Killswitch, right? There was a moment where Killswitch could have won the match, and Christian was like, "No, no, no, let me do it!" Like, pretty much like talking shit to him and just being an asshole. Well, Killswitch, aka Luchasaurus, makes his way down to the ring, and it's just so whatever. I'm not going to get into the logistics and how he even was able to get into the match. Whatever. The fact that they again teased a breakup between Killswitch, Luchasaurus, and Christian, and then failed to deliver on it, it just really fucking took me out of it. Between that and then it leading directly to the finish, again, just really put a damper on it for me and just really kind of made me mad a little bit, maybe not mad, but just really bothered me, I'll say. So we'll just talk about it right here. So Killswitch had played, Killswitch came out and teased choke slamming Christian, but instead choke slam Kyle O'Reilly, then placed Christian on top of O'Reilly, which led to the 3 count. To me, they do this too much, and it reminded me of the Daniel Garcia thing with, I'm pretty sure it was Jericho. Leaving was it the Jericho Appreciation Society? One of the groups, but you hear the crowd building and building and building their support, and it's leading to this moment, and it's time for you to pull the trigger, and you just don't, or you pull a swerve for whatever reason you feel like you need to do, and it's just like, why? Like, why do that? So to me, it was just dumb, to be honest, and to be kind of blunt about it. I think that it was unnecessary. I think that you didn't even need to do that. If you wanted Christian to win, fine. I don't agree with that decision either. Again, seeing how the rest of the card in the night and the main event played out, I guess it makes a little bit more sense, but I still don't. I'm not a fan of it. And again, this is coming from someone who fucking loves Christian. I think he's doing great work. I just don't think that he needed another title shot. I really don't. Um, Moving on, though, I can say more, but moving on, we had our next match on the card, which was MJF versus Will Ospreay for the AEW American / International Championship. There was a stellar and a fucking really, really dope Assassin's Creed video game. If you're not familiar with video games, it's a pretty dope video game. Kind of integration with Will Ospreay. Obviously, Ospreay has based his character off of Assassin's Creed. And to see that tie in there, and then of course his entrance with the like the ninja warriors type thing. It was just really cool. The assassins wear the flips and shit. It was just really cool. So if you haven't seen that, if you didn't get a chance to see the pay-per-view, definitely just check out Ospreay's entrance in that video package. I think it's like 5 minutes. Just really dope. But the match itself, it was a good match too, you know. Like I'm not gonna sit here and go through a match hold by hold rather, but I think you can hear my dog. Yeah, my dog is dreaming, so if you hear any noises in the background, I'm sorry. She's really getting into it. But with this match, it was more of the story that they were telling, which again I obviously appreciate, and we get on AEW a lot for. And I think that with the to be expected return and interference from Daniel Garcia, and with the confirmation that we have now from Dynamite, it was pretty logical and kind of what you would expect. But I love the story here, and I love that the finish led to Ospreay looking to the fans and kind of looking for their approval and kind of like, this is it. I don't really want to do this, but I got approval, you know, like everyone, like, it's okay. Like, I know it's okay. And like, you guys got my back, and Bryan Danielson has my back. He hit the Tiger Driver 91. Of course, there was a rough bump prior. The referee made their way back to the ring and hit the 3 count. That led to, and I kind of went like when Justin Roberts made the announcement, the AEW, your new AEW American Champion. I was kind of hoping he would wait. You know, I was kind of hoping he would wait to make the declaration of the championship name itself, or as he was going to say it, Ospreay would kind of like snap out of it really quick and just be like, wave him off, kind of gesture for him to come over, whisper to him, and just have him say international, just to pack a little bit more of a punch. Just a minor thing, and maybe not even that big of a deal, but just me being nitpicking and shit. But this is a great match. This was, at this point, in-ring match-wise, probably my favorite. Again, with Mariah May and Toni Storm being second. Of course, the main event was still to come, and that we knew that it was going to be a great match, but to me, that really surprised me. So we'll get there in a second. But next up, we have Mercedes Moné facing off against Britt Baker for the TBS Championship. This match has gotten a lot of flack and a lot of hate for it being sloppy and just both competitors not really looking like they're into it. And to me, I guess I'm in the minority. Yes, it was a little bit slower, but I didn't think it was terrible. Yes, were there moments where things didn't go as smoothly as probably and they wanted it to go? Yeah, but shit happens, you know what I mean? And to me, that's kind of the beauty of pro wrestling. It wasn't completely terrible. And to me, just the biggest, or the bigger rather, not controversy, but the biggest thing with me, I guess, is just the story that I think they still left on the table, and the lack thereof that they could have touched on. Again, I'm hoping they run it back maybe again in the future, but I think that they could have got a lot still out from both women promo wise. And again, obviously with Britt being suspended for 2 weeks, that didn't help things. But I think that they left a lot on the table. And there's just something about this Mercedes character that's just kind of, I don't want to say not clicking for me, but just kind of, I'm just like waiting for it to really like wow me, and I'm just not there yet. So with that being said, obviously Mercedes Moné won and retained her title. But I'm not really, and I will say I was surprised too. Though I was expecting Jamie Hayter, who did make her return and her return to AEW in the pre-show. I was expecting her to make kind of some type of an appearance here, but she didn't. So I guess the rumors are true. I guess her and Britt aren't on speaking terms. I guess is what is being reported, or I don't know. It's just one of those things. I don't really care. It is what it is. But that kind of is just as fuel to the fire type thing. But yeah, the match was fine, I guess, but it was kind of, I guess, a little underwhelming is what I would go for. It's just something like it was fine, but I just kind of expected a little bit more. But it is what it is. Next, we had Jack Perry versus Darby Allin in a coffin match for the TNT title, and I was really looking forward to this match coming in. I thought this one was going to be just brutal. They were going to do some crazy shit, and I think I remember seeing somewhere that they were pressed for time, and they actually got a little bit of time cut, so it happens. Darby Allin came out with thumbtacks just like glued to his face, kind of looking like Pinhead, which is kind of crazy. Dude, just not kind of crazy. He's fucking nuts. So when we had Jack Perry coming out with a body bag too, and Jack Perry is getting to be more and more dark, which is an interesting side. Excuse me, guys. So I think though, with the biggest takeaway for me is just that I think Jack Perry got a little bit more offense than I would have expected, and that probably had again more to do with their time being cut a little bit. I think the situation was regarding the tube that you have to take in London to get back and leave in Wembley. So if that's the case, totally understand that. It is what it is. But there's just something again about this one that I was kind of expecting a little bit more. But again, like it's kind of scary to expect a little bit more of these crazy fuckers in it. So, and again, just the way they ended the match with uh Perry pouring the gasoline on Darby while Darby was in the body bag with his hands and his feet tied together, and then throwing him inside the coffin, pouring more gasoline on him, and then shutting the lid, and then pouring more gasoline on the coffin, having the Young Bucks come out, and then a surprise Sting making his not return but a surprise experience, a surprise appearance rather, and saving Darby. And I liked how it didn't play into the finish of the match. That was concluded. It was a clear winner. Jack Perry won. But Sting still came out and saved the day for Darby. So I think that was really cool. It's, again, surprising to me with that ending. The follow-up that we had on Dynamite in regards to Darby Allin, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I was just really... I was happy with the outcome. I was happy that Jack Perry won, and that's what I predicted as well. I saw a lot of people going on the side of Darby Allin for some reason, which I just didn't feel. Again, I get a lot of shit wrong, but I was just feeling Jack Perry on this one. Next up, we had the main event: Swerve Strickland facing off against Bryan Danielson in a title versus career match for the AEW World Championship. There was still a lot of confusion going into it as to what even the career part meant for Danielson, so we did get that explained to us on Dynamite, which is a big relief. Now we know. And again, guys, this match, we all knew this was going to be good, right? But this was just really taken to a different level, and I really want to go back and watch it again just to see what I missed the first time watching it. But man, like, of course, with the added emotional element of Danielson's family and Bree and his two kids being there at ringside, and like Bryan Danielson's genes are strong as fuck because those kids are a spitting image of him. Like blonde hair, blue eyes, like it's just insane. It's just it's so funny. I didn't even like really realize that until I saw them there. Because I don't really follow. I don't really check. That's my problem. I just don't be checking social media, so I just wasn't aware. But it's just crazy. It's just crazy because I think for whatever reason, I just would have expected the Bellas genes to be much stronger, but I don't really know why. Just kind of weird. But yeah, like I was just like, wow, wow. And beautiful kids, like beautiful blue eyes, like just like a clear blue, just like it's just nice. Just really nice blue eyes. But again, a spitting image of Bryan. Just look at his eyes, you see it, which again led to a good feel good moment at the end of the match here. But the emotion in this match, and there was a point where Danielson hit Swerve with the bazooka knee, and I think it was the bazooka knee. Let me pull it up. Yeah, it was the bazooka knee. So Danielson hit the bazooka knee on Swerve, but Swerve just no sold it at all. Kind of fell back into the turnbuckle and then just kind of leaned forward and just brushed it off his shoulder like it ain't shit. And that got a great reaction. That was like, oh shit type moment. Like, wow, okay, like this we ain't playing here. And then right after that, Swerve hit Danielson with the house call, grabbed Danielson from behind, look at his family, which is a great touch, and hit big pressure. And for a second there, I thought that was it. I loved the touch of him obviously hitting his finishing move, a big move, big pressure, no pun intended. And then looking at Bryan's family and then going for the 3 count, because that would have been a wonderful finish. But I predicted that Swerve was going to retain the title here. I thought that there was a lot that made more sense with Swerve retaining than Bryan winning. We'll get to that again later on. But they got me there. They got me there. I thought that would have been a badass moment for Swerve. And it still was, but I think if he would have won, that would have just solidified it. But they get back towards the end. They were trading blows in the middle of the ring. Swerve hit a series of kicks and then went for a rolling move. But Danielson caught him with another knee strike. Danielson was on his knees, leaning the yes chance with one arm when he hit Swerve from behind with a running knee. Danielson applied the lapel lock in the middle of the ring. Swerve used his hand to pry Danielson's hand free. Danielson rinsed Swerve's fingers, reapplied the hold, and got the submission win. Again, shout out to ProWrestling.net, Jason Powell, for the transcription there. Just beautifully told. I love the celebration afterwards. I love the blood that Bryan got. The visual and the pictures that we got in him holding the title afterwards just made it even hit harder. Which is what I sometimes don't say for AEW because we get so much blood. The fact that, like, for instance, earlier in the Mariah May Toni Storm match, I don't think that we needed blood for Mariah May. Like, and especially, I think it was was it the pile driver into the stairs that she got? I just don't think it was necessary. So the fact that it was applied here with Bryan, sorry guys, I had to readjust my chair. It was applied here with Bryan rather. To me made sense. It's your main event. It's your world championship match. It just added to it. The only thing I would say regarding this match, can we just stop with the injury angles for Bryan? Like, I'm not even gonna say kind of. I'm over it. I'm over it. I get taken out of it. I get really concerned for Bryan just knowing his history. So maybe it's just me being too naive or whatever, but I just think that it does almost more harm than good, and it's just not necessary. It's just, yeah, you can sell injuries in the ring, but you just don't need to do that. So, with that being said, we're going to transition over to the AEW Dynamite side of things. AEW Dynamite, of course, aired from Champaign, Illinois this past Wednesday. The attendance, guys, I'm not going to get into it, but I think they said it was like, I don't even remember. I don't even want to say 1,300 because like that feels like just crazy. Pulling it up here. Let me see. Okay, it's not in this report. Okay. Yeah, it's not in that report. But yeah, I'm not gonna waste much time here. But I'm not a fan of people taking pictures of empty arenas and stuff like that, but it is pretty jarring when you see it. And it's just, again, why I was talking about the all-in ticket sales for next year, but I'm not gonna talk about that here right now. But yeah, it's just, and in Illinois too, like Champaign. I know it's not Chicago or anything, but it's like, damn, like I don't know. It just kind of stood out a little bit, and the glaring of like when Moxley was coming out, for instance, just the sharp cut. It just that stood out to me, and that's what made me like kind of like, well, how many tickets did they even sell? So again, it's not really one of those things for me, but it kind of is one of those things when it's just so glaring. But with that being said, I will say the way they opened with Moxley coming out, I was hooked. Moxley still has that star presence and still makes you feel like he's a big deal and still just has a way with almost sometimes saying nothing but saying a lot at the same time. And the fact that I'm getting it pulled back up here to see exactly. So, and it was something very obviously you need to stop saying obviously too. But with the storm that it has cooked up on Twitter, Dang, I didn't realize I scrolled that down in my note, that far down in my notes. Yeah, so Moxley was going to walk away, but so long story short, he came out and called out Darby Allin, which was very surprising to me, and said that him and Darby Allin pretty much need to have a conversation, and it's one that he's been thinking about for a while. And it's time to have that conversation. He was going to leave the ring, but he came back and told Tony Schiavone, who had made his way down once Tony had saw that Moxley was making his way to the ring. Tony was like, I gotta figure out what's going on. So Schiavone went down there to get the scoops type shit. Moxley, was going to leave the ring, like I said, after talking about Darby, made his way back and told Schiavone that he had to understand something. He said that this company doesn't belong to him being Tony Schiavone, assumingly, anymore, and that Schiavone, that's my notes. My notes after that was like Shawnee, I can't talk right now. It's been a long day, guys. I've recorded a few things now. But Schiavone, I put in my notes, looked confused and said almost WTF. And not even WTF, like what the fuck afterwards. So again, to kind of recap that, with Moxley saying what he said to Tony Schiavone, that he needs to understand something, that this company doesn't belong to him anymore. Obviously, that could mean a lot of different things, but clearly Tony Schiavone doesn't own AEW. Tony Khan does. Does that lead into Shane McMahon making a surprise debut to AEW and signing with AEW, or going like an invasion type route or anything like that? I'm one of those people. I'm not going to completely rule it out. I wouldn't be completely surprised. I think it'll be crazy as hell visual to see. If I had to put money on it, though, I'd probably go maybe 60-40 yes. If I'm being crazy, I wouldn't put too much money on it, but I'd throw a little bit on it depending on what the odds are and what the amount is. Do I think it's likely to happen? No, but I think that it's just a little speculation, the kind of vagueness that AEW likes to do sometimes to get people talking, and it worked. Like Twitter was going crazy with the Shane McMahon speculation, and if you really break it down, you can make sense for it. You can do the well, Shane can run Collision and this route and really get into the nitty gritty of it. I kind of want to wait and see what they do next week, because later on in the night we saw. I'm not going to go through the Dynamite in chronological order because the show is getting kind of long. I may actually even end up chopping it. So if you're watching a Dynamite review and it's and I'm referencing something prior, it's in regards to the All In recap, which you should definitely check out. But I think with this one, this is definitely going to be a angle where I wait and see. With the inclusion of Marina Shafir later on, when Moxley was walking in the back and the cameraman was running up to him, he's like, Moxley, like, what did you mean? Moxley turned around and said pretty much like it's time for people to be humbled or something to that effect. And Marina Shafir just came out and just took out all the security guards. I think there was like 1, 2, maybe 3. And then there was a 4th who came running to kind of help out, and he said, oh no, type shit, and turned around and ran the other way. So interesting. And at first I didn't even recognize Marina Shafir, so we'll see what ends up becoming of those two, and if it's going to be a new faction, because it's just a random pairing to do nothing else with after this week. So it has to be leading to something, and we'll see. The other point on this show that I definitely wanted to talk about was Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page. I don't like Swerve mentioning that he went to Hangman's house again. I just think that we had a nice way to kind of address it and kind of sweep it under the rug, and now we got to bring it back up. And now you said something else, that you went to his house and was watching him and his pregnant wife, like load up the car and on their way to the hospital to become dad for the second time. And it's just kind of weird, man. Like I don't know. Like I get what they're going for, or what Swerve is going for edgewise. Like he's sinister, he's a bad guy, that's what like real bad guys do, but that's stalkerish. Like that's like, bad guys are supposed to be cool. Like bad guys are like, I don't know, like that to me is just too. Why are you like really messing with this guy's family, like the kids? Like I don't know, to me that's just like a little bit too much. And I love Swerve, and I love what they've been doing with Swerve. I was in the ballpark of don't get title off of Swerve. You can just get much more out of it. So this is coming from a place of love, and also coming from a place where I think that Swerve stole that segment. I think that Hangman's response is just kind of odd. Like, Hangman has been going crazy over the past few weeks, or past multiple weeks rather, trying to get his hands on Swerve. And now Swerve makes his way out to the ring and is standing face to face with him. And I think they even went like forehead to forehead, and no punches thrown by Hangman, no nothing, even after the fact. After they say what they got to say, Swerve challenges him to a steel cage match. Hangman could have acted like he was going to storm out of the ring like he did, and turn around and just cold clock Swerve from behind and just done like a cheap move. So that way it solidifies too. Like, yes, we as fans should still be cheering for Swerve and hating Hangman. To me, it's not too big of a deal, but it's just adding up to it. Again, another one of those just overall things that leads to issues on the bigger picture. So I hope we get a little bit of clarification maybe next week. Again, it's not that big of a deal, but to me, it's just something minor that could have been avoided. And I guess I'll say, for that matter. But of course, we had the Ricochet debut versus Kyle Fletcher. To me, he should have I don't even think he should have probably had a match against Kyle Fletcher. I don't know who. Maybe against Isaiah Cassidy from Private Party. He was there, right, with that god awful segment with Mercedes Moné. Talk about that really quick. She had her championship celebration backstage, and Okada was there. I think it was Cassidy who was. Yeah, I think it was Isaiah Cassidy who was hitting on Monet, and then Okada came over to pretty much like save her from as Isaiah hitting on her or whatever. And it was just like a weird segment. Like, it just, I don't know, man. It's just, I'm not gonna get onto the Okada soapbox right now, but because I'm not too angry with it, but it's just like, wow, this is what we're doing. But the Ricochet and Fletcher match, I think that you maybe could have had him face off against Kyle Fletcher a couple weeks further, and maybe a couple weeks closer to when you actually want Ospreay and Ricochet to officially compete against each other. But I think that it was way too soon right now to have him against Fletcher. I think Isaiah Kennedy, right? Yeah, Isaiah Kennedy. I think that would have made much more sense. Such style like that, and I think Ricochet should have blown through someone like that. That's my whole point for changing up the opponents there. A quick 5-7 minute squash match from him. Yes, like, Ricochet is the type where you want him to have a longer match to get all of his moves out, but in the same, I would say honestly maybe like a 7-8 minute match to give it a little bit extra time. But I think Ricochet is that guy where he can get a lot out of 7 or 8 minutes, and again, that's not to limit him each week, but that's to build him up, because while he is going to fit right into AEW, that's kind of the problem too. So I think just having him go out there and just showcase, yes, he can hit all the flippy, flashy moves that a lot of the other guys do, and a lot of the other guys have probably stolen from him. He does it with more impact, and he has a different way about doing it. And he can hit the same moves at them, but he has a way of making it a finality and making it in the match. So to me, it was just, I don't know, man. It could have just hit a little bit harder. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about too before we wrap up here, of course, is the Bryan Danielson promo at the end of the night. It was a great segment all the way up until the reveal of his opponent at All Out. And I say that because not necessarily the opponent themselves, but how they got there too. So Bryan came out as a fiery promo again. He pretty much thanked everyone, said that this was his favorite title or his favorite moment in his career, which at first I got kind of salty. I was like, wait, what? And I was kind of thinking back, and I was like, after all these other moments, but then I was like, just because it's my favorite moment doesn't mean that's his favorite moment, obviously. And two, it makes sense because his family was there, and it was a big deal after everything he's gone through in his career. Probably didn't think he would ever be a world champion again at this point, and here he is. So makes total sense. So I'm very happy for him, and I'm happy that he got to have that moment too, his Wembley moment. What I didn't really necessarily bite on was after he issued the open challenge, we automatically got we started here before he could even finish talking. We got a Jack Perry segment, or a Jack Perry video package rather, on the big screen, and it was him talking in front of holding his TNT title belt and explaining pretty much like why he's going to challenge for it. And then he said something to the effect of because of what's going to happen behind you or something like that. And then it was himself attacking Bryan Danielson from behind. So first of all, you mean to tell me that Jack Perry knew in advance that Danielson was going to issue an open challenge? Maybe I missed something. Maybe Bryan Danielson or AEW posted it on Twitter a couple days ago that yes, we knew he was going to address his future, but not that it was going to be an open challenge. So for Perry to be addressing and responding to the open challenge with a video package, nonetheless, just really just took me out of that. I was like, really, bro? Like, come on, you could have been more clever and more creative than that. You could have just not done the video package at all this week. You could have just had Bryan do that and then have Jack Perry just attack him from behind and then air the package next week and just tweak it a little bit. So I don't know. To me, it's just, or even air it on Collision. So I don't know. The video package, that is, not this segment, of course. But to me, that just really took me out. And I get to why they're doing it with Perry being in Chicago. Hopefully, that's going to generate more heat, which makes sense with the whole bullshit that happened last year. Would I have pegged Jack Perry to be the first champion, or the first challenger rather, for Bryan Danielson? No. And in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like they're rushing that and kind of playing that card too soon. The whole point I thought of Jack Perry was to build him up and to really add substance to this scapegoat character and to really work and hone in his new persona and this new singles persona, because it still hasn't even been that long since he's been a singles bad guy. Because when you think about it, he was out 8 months. So I just think that they're kind of rushing that when you had other options. Like if you want to do it, especially if you want to do an open challenge type format, you could have gone with a lot of other people. I don't hate that it's Jack Perry, but I just feel like it's being rushed. And yes, you can go back to him challenging whomever in the future as well. It doesn't ruin him or hurt him probably or anything like that. But to me, it's just completely unnecessary. And it was just a very odd choice. So I'm not really hot on that. I don't really know why they did that. Hopefully this is going to be something that makes more sense next week on Dynamite when they play it out and we get a little bit more information on it and just see which direction they're going to take it with. But I think that was the last thing that I wanted to talk about regarding Dynamite. We did get Jamie Hayter in her return match as well, so it's good to have her back in the women's division. More substance there, more depth there. So yeah, that's pretty much all my notes for Dynamite. Again, I think that we did have an MJF segment on there as well, with Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia made his return at All In, and they set up their match for All Out. And I think that's going to be good. I don't expect Daniel Garcia to win there, but I don't think he needs to. I think he's going to be getting the quote rub from MJF. And I think it's kind of like a win-win. Garcia is going to be elevated as long as they do the match right and the follow-up right, which is the key thing. I think that's going to be prime. And I think Garcia is going to get the rub off of just even interacting and going through this build with MJF. And I think MJF is going to get a nice match out of this as well, and it's not going to hurt MJF. I think that it's going to just solidify him again in his in-ring work and his in-ring skills, and I think that it's just going to add to his story going forward. Oh, earlier again with Ricochet at the end of his match, we got Ospreay came out. I really liked how they did this. Ospreay came out, which we expected, right? Ricochet was still in the ring, kind of pulling himself up from his match that just ended. Ospreay walked out, his music hit, he walked out onto the stage. He was gonna go say something, and all of a sudden, Pac came out from the other tunnel and just completely wiped out Ospreay. Pac got on the mic and said, pretty much like "Don't forget him" type shit, and Ricochet needs to get to the back of the line, and that Ospreay is his. So I love that touch, short, sweet, to the point, and it set up a couple different angles right there. Ricochet and Pac in the future, and then obviously Pac and Ospreay going forward. So that was really well done. Short, simple, to the point, but very effective. With that being said, guys, that wraps up today's show. There may be content dropping later. If not, maybe sometime in a couple days. But thank you all so much for checking out the show. Feel free to follow me on Twitter again at @KickashPodcast_. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. But until next time, thank you guys so much for checking out the show, and be safe and enjoy some wrestling out there.